Hello, I'm Forrest Mahan, President of Aiken Technical College, and welcome to this edition of the Mahan Conversations. Today, my special guest is Will Williams. Will, welcome to the Mahan Conversations.
Thank you, Dr. Mahan. Glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what your firm does.
So, I'm the President and CEO of the Western South Carolina Economic Development Partnership. That is a multi-county regional economic development organization, and we work for Aiken County, Edgefield County, Saluda County, and McCormick County doing economic development, recruiting new industries and helping our current industries expand. We're a 40-year-old organization this year. We started in 1984 as working strictly for Aiken County, and then in 1988, Edgefield County joined, and in 2014, Saluda County became a part of our organization, and in 2017, McCormick County joined.
Well, and you talk about economic development. I mean, you talk about jobs and bringing in industries. Tell everybody a little bit about really what goes into that. I mean, in other words, we have some major industries in our region, but they just didn't appear. What does it take to get an industry to come to this region?
Yeah, we're very fortunate with the industries that we've had for a long time, like Kimberly-Clark, and in Bridgestone. Kimberly-Clark's been here over 50 years, and the economic development profession wasn't quite what it is now, but over time it's developed to where we have to prepare locations for these industries to locate. When I say prepare, we have to identify areas, get all the engineering due diligence for them, or for us to be able to market these sites. When I say engineering due diligence, things like phase one analysis, cultural and archaeological and protected species assessments, things like that. It's shovel ready for a prospect. And as I've been in this profession for over 25 years, and it has gone from where you would take a company, buy a piece of property and say, imagine your plant here, to being much more sophisticated, having to have all of that due diligence done before you can ever present a site to a prospective industry.
Now, I mean, South Carolina is seeing a lot of industry interested in this region, in particular with what we have to offer. So what is attractive to industries when they come and look at South Carolina, or in particular Western South Carolina?
So every company's search criteria is different. They may be looking for X amount of acres, or they may need access to the interstate, or they may want to be in proximity to their suppliers or their customers. There's a myriad of different things that go behind that. One thing that's a strength for us in Aiken County, Sage Mill Industrial Park is located basically right off of I-20 at exit 11. We are 2.5 hours to the ports of Charleston and Savannah. Depending on the traffic, we're 2.5 to 3 hours to Atlanta. So we can say that we are 75, or we're less than a 12-hour drive to 75% of the U.S. population. Okay. But also the feel of the two larger communities in our county, the city of Aiken, the city of North Augusta, that's a driver. Although our industrial park is located well outside of either one of those, about a 15-minute drive to both. But there's the amenities and also the proximity to the Augusta airport, and the livability that the whole CSRA has.
And also too, it's very affordable.
Yes.
To live here, very low cost of living compared to other areas, and it makes it an attractive, and good weather, and a lot of things that they say help attract industries and people who are willing to work in those industries.
Correct. And then, with Fort Eisenhower and Savannah Riverside being here, typically you have one spouse, maybe two, but at least one spouse employed there, and that trailing spouse then needs an opportunity for a career if they're looking for it.
Now, one of the things that Aiken Technical College tries to do is really kind of the idea of growing our own workforce. So how do you engage with Aiken Technical College to help meet the needs of these industries?
Yeah, a great location is one thing, but the most important asset a company is looking for is their workforce. And Aiken Tech has always been able to provide that. We meet regularly with Dr. Simmons and with you and other members of your team to identify what's going on, because we need things in our toolbox when we're going to sell. We need to know these things. But you all have always stepped up. If the program didn't exist, a program was created to continue the development of their ongoing operations.
Now, you've often said that we consider full employment when the unemployment rate is 4%. Talk a little bit about what things are looking like currently in this region.
Well, we are past full employment. We're roughly 3% unemployment. So everybody that wants a job has a job at this point in time. But there are people that are missing from the workforce right now. We know there's a large number of people who are not counted in our workforce that could be. And when you think of the demographic that the Department of Employment and Workforce uses as labor force, that's ages 16 to 65. Well, we know what 16 to 18-year-olds are doing. Hopefully they are in school, in a high school setting. But somewhere in there, we're missing people. And there's a lot of reasons why they're not there. But we continue to succeed in meeting the needs of our existing industries and those that come.
And I mean, it's interesting too, with the low unemployment rate, we've also got this phenomenon of more jobs than people. So I know that Aiken Tech, our goal is to try to help close that skills mismatch, because as you mentioned, there may be some people who are not in the workforce, or there may be some who are what we call underemployed. Can you tell a little bit about what that would mean and what that impacts the economy?
Yeah, I like to think of what we do, and again, we couldn't do what we do without partners like Aiken Tech and other educational providers. But I like to think of a new industry coming in, or even one of our existing industries, is like dropping a pebble in a pond that's calm and flat. There's that ripple effect. So jobs are created, and 99% of the time, if it's a new company, they're going to bring maybe 3 or 4 people from another location, and then they're going to work the local area to find the rest of the employment needs that they have. So someone may be working maybe in a retail setting, in a restaurant setting, some aspect like that, and they just don't have the skills, or they haven't had the opportunity. And so this gives them a chance to better themselves. Now, it does leave a hole somewhere else along that chain, but usually that can be backfilled with someone else.
And one of the things we've benefited from as a technical college system is the legislature has been very focused on short-term training, but also on training in these high-wage, high-demand fields, where a student who may not have the skill set could come to Aiken Tech for practically no cost of tuition, simply because they're in that field that people need to fill. And so you mentioned bringing new industries in, but we've also heard an announcement of expansions. And any comments you have on that?
Yeah, so while we go out and we recruit new opportunities, because we're always one phone call away from losing one of our existing employers, we put a very heavy emphasis on economic gardening of what we already have. And people retire, and people decide to exit their current employment. So we've got to have those strong relationships with Aiken Tech in developing that workforce. And I think that's one of our, 70% of all of our new capital investment and job creation comes from the companies that we already have here. Many would say that they were going to do it here anyway, which is not accurate, because many of our companies have a footprint somewhere else, and corporate capital allocation is a very competitive sport. So we work with you all and with other entities to ensure that our existing industries are positioned to get that investment. And we all know that going to college is what we've all been told. You got to be successful. If you're going to be successful, you got to go to college. And I think where Aiken Tech has been innovative through the technical college system is creating those programs that, a person maybe they don't want to get a 2-year degree, but they can get a certification in a program that leads to employment, and then they can come back through and get that 2-year degree and then move forward to a 4-year degree if that's what their aspirations are.
Well, I mean, one of the things we like to try to emphasize to not just the high school students looking for post-secondary education, but for adults who may want to upskill, is that they can come to us at a very low cost to get that initial credential and then do the stackable credential and let the employers do a really good job of helping advance. So there's some benefits once they get a job in a field that they'll help pay for their next level of education.
Yeah, I mean, a 4-year education is not inexpensive. And so I always tell young people whenever I get the opportunity, look at the field that you're going into if you want a 4-year degree, but there is a non-traditional way to be able to get that 4-year degree and not incur. I like to take it, rather than incurring a large home debt, you incur a small car debt if that's what you have to do. And I think y'all's engagement in the K through 12 system with the articulation agreements that you all have is very strong. So a young person can be well on their way when they get their high school diploma. There's a strong likelihood they may already have their 2-year associate's degree. I mean, if they don't, then through the lottery tuition, and I know there's an acronym that y'all use, I can't remember exactly what it is, for the lottery tuition.
LTA?
Yeah, LTA. LTA can help a young person, and then if they're working for a company through their tuition reimbursement program, whatever's not covered by LTA, you can make it free.
Right, and so that's always a great thing for the individuals because it helps the companies. It's the win-win. It's win-win for economic development. It's win-win for the college, but most importantly, it's the win-win for the student or the adult who's looking to upskill and get that next job because it can transform somebody's life and transform the region.
Exactly. That is what I say. The greatest change agent on this planet is a job.
Exactly. Now, my question for you is this, is that we've seen a lot of industry come to South Carolina, and we know about, we have Bridgestone in our area, so there are tire companies all over the state. We've got a lot of automotive, we're seeing a lot of EV investment. At high level, because you can't share prospects, there's always that secret code name you have to use for a prospect, but are you seeing any particular field in the industry, any particular field really showing interest in South Carolina or the western part of South Carolina?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of interest in data centers. They have smaller numbers, but they pay quite well. And obviously Aiken Tech has a very strong computer and cyber program. We're seeing interest there. We're seeing more advanced manufacturing in terms of in the EV market. We're seeing smaller manufacturers that are tier 3 suppliers to some of the automotive and aerospace companies, and that kind of complements what we already have. That's one thing we have worked very hard on over the 14 years that I've been here, and then my predecessor as well, is continuing to diversify the employment base here so we don't have all our eggs in one basket. I mean, I think that's critical because if prior to Bridgestone coming, the largest employer was Graniteville Company, a textile manufacturer, and then Savannah Riverside had 30,000 people at that time, and through actions by the federal government, the jobs were cut almost in half there. Graniteville Company eventually closed. So, and we've had some closures over the last 5 or 6 years, but it hasn't been this drastic impact because we are diversified in our economy.
I mean, often the parallel is, and you and I were in Charleston in the late 80s, early 90s when the naval base was closing and everybody was panicked about what that would do, and then you look what's happened with Charleston. So if you diversify, you can have an opportunity for growth. So you always want to make sure, to your point, is that you have a variety of opportunities for economic development for people to get jobs. And of course, our programs reflect the cyber, the computer technology, but advanced manufacturing, healthcare. That's a really big demand is nurses. That's our biggest opening in Aiken County is the number of nurses. And so that goes to the quality of life. just simply because if you bring people in, yeah, they can get a great paying job, but will the services, the amenities that they would like to have, will they be here?
Yeah.
And good health care is a key part of that.
I agree. I mean, and I've lived other places in South Carolina as you have, and I grew up on the coast of South Carolina, smelling salt air and pluff mud, and that was beautiful. But I think Aiken might be one of South Carolina's best kept secrets, but I don't know how much longer it's going to be a secret.
Well, and I've been here 8 years, and I have seen an amazing amount of development in the valley, in particular, the Central Park, because Aiken Tech is located in Graniteville, and then you mentioned Exit 11, all that development there. What's driving that, do you think? What are your key thoughts on what's driving all this development? And is it, like you said, but no longer a secret?
I just think it's being part of a larger metropolitan area, the Aiken-Augusta Metropolitan Statistical Area. We work closely with our friends across the river in Columbia County and Augusta-Richmond County, because people are going to live where they want to live, and then they're willing to drive 30, 45 minutes for a job. So, while we want to be parochial and have all the wins here, we're happy when they win over there, because we know that about the same number of people that drive from Georgia to South Carolina to work drive from South Carolina to Georgia to work. So I think just the growth of industry in this region. I also think the growth that has occurred over the last almost 10 years at Fort Eisenhower. You have high-level soldiers coming in and civilians, and they have spouses. And again, it's the central location that we have. I just think there's a lot of factors, but I believe it's our employment base and quality of life.
I mean, one of the things Governor McMaster always likes to say is that we're a handshake state, that our word is our word, and that's our bond. And so we're able to make good deals with some major companies. And you have certain development areas, maybe the central part of the state, upstate, and the low country, but we're starting to see a lot of that spread to other parts of the state in areas that might have been underrepresented in terms of, economic development or industrial development for that matter.
Yeah, I think what you see in the low country, they have been extremely successful. You're in the Port of Charleston's back door, but you're also seeing population growth there, which means subdivisions grow, and we have a lot more dry land here than they do in the low country, and so I think we'll continue to see development. The low country's property prices could be somewhat different than ours, so I think we'll continue to see an inland migration for a lot of development.
Well, I mean, to your point, we have a lot of land. We've got a lot of acreage, and there's a lot of room for growth. And the challenge has been in other areas, they've outpaced their infrastructure. So it sounds, I think, from the earlier part of the conversation, when industries are looking, you need to make sure they have the basics, the water, the running water. They have to have that connection to electricity and stuff like that. But we still have plenty of room for growth, is what I understand you're saying.
Yes, because you and I both know, riding around here or wherever, there's subdivisions being constructed everywhere in Aiken County. So it's critical that we have that infrastructure, water, sewer, electrical, available land. So over time, Aiken County in the mid-90s started putting Sage Mill Industrial Park together, and we are running out of available property. So over the last 5 years, we have gone to look for new industrial property. And so when you get up to I guess that would be the northwestern corner of the county, right along the Lexington County line, we have identified almost 1,900 acres that we're going to be developing a long-term plan to bring industry there.
And that complements a lot of what's going on in the school district, upgrading the schools. In the 8 years that I've been here, they've built new schools, they've completely renovated older schools, K through 12, elementary, middle, and high schools. And then also we've agreed to work with the school district where they'll build their new career and technology center on land that we've leased to them for the next 60 years on this campus, which is advanced manufacturing, cyber, healthcare, and that could be a direct pathway into Aiken Tech from K through 12. So it goes back to our goal to educate the locals, grow our own, but also to meet the needs of those who are moving into the region.
Yes, I think I have to give you credit for the drive that you have for continuing to upgrade the facilities here at Aiken Tech. You know, these facilities aren't cheap, and for the most part, it's paid for by taxpayer money. So yeah, you all have to be good stewards, and I think you've done a great job with that. I'm excited to see what the Career Center brings, because that's going to be replacing a 50-plus-year-old facility. It's going to be new, and I agree with you with the upgrades that have been made in the K through 12 areas in Aiken County. I think we're positioning ourselves to be even more successful than we've been.
Well, thank you. I think that Western SC makes a great partnership with a lot of industries and education, and we're going, of course, across the river as well, so the CSRA, so there's a lot of stuff going on. Anything else you'd like to share that maybe we haven't touched upon?
You know, everybody doesn't always understand the criteria that companies get. They see somewhere getting something, why didn't we get it? And again, I talked a little bit about that, but so workforce is key, and we're continuing to get that product ready, and we couldn't do it without y'all. So I mean, the many partners that we have in everything from the utilities to Aiken Tech and the K through 12 system here, that's what makes our team successful, is because of our great partners.
And we appreciate that partnership, because our goal is that when you bring a prospect in, you want to treat them as if where else would they want to be, but in this region.
And you've made yourself and your staff available for many prospect meetings, and that's huge for a CEO or a corporate decision maker to be able to sit down with the technical college president and some of their team to understand what programs are available. And I've never heard you say no when there was a need for a program, and that's awesome.
Well, we appreciate that, and that's what we're here to do. So, Will, thank you for being with us today. And again, this has been another Mahan Conversation. We'll see you next time.